The cosmic stock exchange had never crashed. Not once in 11,000 years. The elder races of the galaxy were very proud of this fact. They had built a perfect system, and they believed it would last forever. Ambassador Velthrix stood at the entrance of the Grand Trading Hall on Nexus Prime. The crystalline being was old, even by galactic standards. Their body was made of living crystal that caught the light of 3 suns and scattered it into rainbow patterns across the floor. Velthrix belonged to the Harmonid species, the architects of the exchange itself. Today, Velthrix was welcoming humanity's first economic delegation. The ambassador felt a mix of curiosity and pity as they watched the small group of humans step off their shuttle. Such young creatures. Their species had only discovered faster than light travel 300 years ago. In galactic terms, they were babies learning to walk. Dr. Amara Chun led the human delegation. She was a tall woman with gray streaks in her black hair and calm eyes that seemed to notice everything. Behind her walked 15 other humans, each carrying data tablets and wearing the simple blue uniforms of Earth's Economic Council. "Welcome to Nexus Prime," Velthrix said. The ambassador's voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "You stand at the center of galactic commerce. 100,000 species trade here. Quadrillions of credits flow through this station every hour." Dr. Chen nodded politely. "It's impressive. We've studied your system extensively during our journey here." Velthrix made a gesture that indicated pleased to surprise. "How wonderful! Then you understand the great gift we offer your species. Membership in the consortium means stability, safety, predictable growth for centuries to come." The ambassador led the humans through the Grand Trading Hall. Massive screens displayed numbers and symbols in thousands of languages. Creatures of every shape and size moved between trading stations. Some floated. Some crawled. Some existed as clouds of intelligent gas. All of them conducted business in perfect, orderly fashion. "The consortium operates on the principle of ordered growth," Velthrix explained. "Every species is assigned a growth corridor based on their development level. This determines what goods they may produce, what technologies they may develop, and at what rate they may expand." Dr. Chun listened carefully. "And who assigns these corridors?" "The Council of Elder Races, of course. We have guided galactic civilization for millennia. We know what is best for everyone." Behind Dr. Chun, a younger economist named Marcus Webb whispered to his colleague, Dr. Yuki Tanaka. "Did you catch that? They decide everything." Tanaka nodded slightly. She was a small woman with sharp features and sharper eyes. Before becoming an economist, she had been a physicist specializing in thermodynamics. She understood how systems worked and how they failed. Velthrix continued the tour. "Your species will be assigned to the 7th tier. This means you may expand your economy at 2.3% annually. You will be permitted to trade primarily in novelty entertainment and exotic cuisine. Humans are known for your creativity in these areas." "7th tier," Dr. Chun repeated. "Out of how many?" 12. But please do not feel discouraged. The Crethini were 7th tier for 4,000 years before advancing to 6th. Patience is a virtue that young species must learn. The human delegation exchanged glances. 4,000 years to move up one level. The system was not designed for progress. It was designed for control. Later that evening, the human delegation gathered in their assigned quarters. The rooms were comfortable but plain, exactly what the consortium considered appropriate for 7th-tier newcomers. Dr. Chun stood before her team. "Observations?" Marcus Webb spoke first. "The whole thing is rigged. The elder races control everything. They decide who gets to innovate, who gets to grow, and who stays stuck making toys and cooking food forever. It's worse than that," Dr. Tanaka said. She pulled up data on her tablet. I've been analyzing their market structure. Their predictive algorithms are incredibly advanced. They can forecast market movements with almost perfect accuracy across 50 years. That sounds efficient, someone said. It sounds impossible, Tanaka replied. Because it is. Markets are complex systems. They should be unpredictable by nature. The only way to make them predictable is to eliminate all sources of surprise. Dr. Chun understood immediately. They're not predicting the future. They're controlling it. Exactly. Every innovation is scheduled decades in advance. Every economic shift is planned. Any species that tries to do something unexpected is sanctioned, suppressed, or eliminated. They've built a galaxy-wide economy based on eliminating freedom. The room was silent as this truth settled over them. There's something else, Tanaka continued. I've been running models based on basic thermodynamic principles. The second law of thermodynamics states that entropy, disorder, always increases in a closed system. The universe trends toward chaos. It's a fundamental law of physics. She pulled up a graph. The consortium has built an economic system that artificially suppresses disorder. They've been doing this for 11,000 years. But entropy doesn't just disappear. It builds up. It accumulates. Like pressure in a sealed container. What happens when the pressure gets too high? Chun asked. The container explodes. Their perfect system isn't stable at all. It's a bomb waiting to go off. They've just been delaying the inevitable. Dr. Chun walked to the window and looked out at the endless trading floors of Nexus Prime. Trillions of credits moving in perfect, predictable patterns. Thousands of species trapped in roles assigned by their betters. An entire galaxy held prisoner by the illusion of order. They think they're welcoming primitives into their perfect system, Chun said quietly. They don't realize what they've actually done. What have they done? Marcus asked. Chun turned back to face her team. A small smile crossed her face. They've invited chaos through the front door. Humanity didn't evolve in a controlled environment. We evolved through ice ages and meteor strikes, through plagues and wars, through constant change and endless adaptation. We don't fear disorder. We thrive in it. She looked at Dr. Tanaka. You said their system is a bomb waiting to explode. Can we control the explosion? Tanaka considered the question carefully. I think we can do better than that. I think we can turn the explosion into a controlled demolition. Take down the cage without destroying everything inside it. Then let's get to work, Dr. Chun said. The consortium has spent 11,000 years building a prison and calling it paradise. It's time someone showed them the difference. The humans worked through the night, planning. The elder races slept peacefully, confident in their perfect system. They had no idea that the greatest economic revolution in galactic history had just begun in a small room assigned to 7th-tier newcomers. The perfect market would fall, and humanity would be the one to push it over. 6 months after humanity joined the Galactic Economic Consortium, Dr. Yuki Tanaka stood before the Bureau of Commercial Licensing on Nexus Prime. The office was a massive hall filled with floating bureaucrats of various species, all of them bored and uninterested in the small human before them. You wish to open an investment firm, the clerk said. It was a Morvith, a tall insectoid creature with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected no emotion. State your intended focus. Speculative investments in emerging technologies. Tanaka replied calmly. The clerk made a sound that might have been a laugh. A human investment firm. Specializing in speculation. How ambitious. Tanaka smiled politely but said nothing. Your application is approved, the clerk said, stamping a holographic seal onto her documents. Your species has been assigned 7th-tier status. You may only invest in assets appropriate to your tier. Any attempt to interfere with scheduled innovation windows will result in immediate sanctions. Is this understood? Perfectly understood, Tanaka said. 3 weeks later, Prometheus Capital opened its doors in a small office on the 37th level of the exchange. The location was far from the prestigious trading floors where the elder races conducted their business. The rent was cheap. The expectations were non-existent. This suited Tanaka perfectly. Her team was small, but carefully chosen. Marcus Webb handled communications and public relations. 2 other economists from Earth, Dr. Sanjay Patel and Lisa Okonkwo, managed research and analysis. They had also recruited 3 alien partners who shared humanity's frustration with the consortium's rigid system. The first was Crix, a young Crethany inventor whose species had been trapped in 7th tier for 4,000 years. The second was Morath, a Velith trader whose ancestors had once run a galactic shipping empire before the elder races crushed them into textile manufacturing. The third was simply called Zero, a digital entity of unknown origin who existed as pure information and claimed to see patterns others could not. On the first day of operations, Tanaka gathered her team in the small conference room. "I want to explain exactly what we're doing here," she said. "Not just the what, but the why. Understanding the philosophy behind our strategy is essential." She activated a holographic display. It showed a simple graph, a line that went steadily up, never wavering, never dipping. This is the Cosmic Stock Exchange's performance over the last 11,000 years. Perfect growth. 0 crashes. The elder races point to this as proof of their superior system. Crix made a clicking sound. "It's a prison with nice decorations." "It's worse than that," Tanaka said. "It's a violation of fundamental physics. The universe operates on entropy, the tendency toward disorder. Complex systems naturally become chaotic over time. That's not a flaw. It's how the universe creates new things. Stars explode and form new elements. Species compete and evolve. Economies crash and rebuild. Stronger." She changed the display to show a different image, a sealed pressure vessel with cracks forming along its surface. The consortium has spent 11,000 years suppressing entropy. Every time something unexpected tried to happen, they crushed it. Every innovation that wasn't scheduled was destroyed. Every species that moved too fast was sanctioned. They thought they were eliminating chaos. But entropy doesn't just disappear. It accumulates, like a pressure cooker, Marcus said. Exactly. They've built up 11,000 years of suppressed change. All that potential energy is still there, trapped beneath the surface of their perfect market. One crack in the system, and the whole thing explodes. Morath leaned forward. "And you want to create that crack?" Tanaka shook her head. "I want to create a controlled release. A way to let the pressure out gradually instead of all at once. The consortium system is going to collapse no matter what we do. The physics guarantees it. The only question is whether the collapse destroys everything or transforms into something better." She pulled up the details of their first investment target. This is Crix's power cell design. It's 400% more efficient than current technology. Under consortium rules, this innovation is scheduled for release in 300 years. Cycle 847. "My grandfather developed the original concept," Crix said bitterly. "He died waiting for permission to build it. My father died waiting. I refuse to die waiting too." "You won't have to," Tanaka said. "Prometheus Capital is going to fund immediate production and distribution. Full scale, galaxy-wide." The room went silent. "That's a direct violation of the innovation schedule," Lisa Okonkwo said. "The sanctions would be severe. For Crix and the Crethany, Yes. That's why we're structuring this as an investment, not a partnership. The liability flows to Prometheus Capital, to humanity. And we're new enough, small enough, that the elder races won't take us seriously until it's too late. Zero's avatar flickered. I have analyzed the likely responses. The consortium's bureaucracy moves slowly. By the time they process the violation and issue sanctions, the power cells will already be in circulation. The market disruption will be irreversible. And then what? Sanjay asked. Tanaka smiled. Then we do it again. And again. We find every suppressed innovation, every scheduled technology that could change lives now instead of centuries from now. We fund them all. We crack the system open from 100 different directions. The elder races will eventually stop us, Morith said. They have fleets. They have weapons. They won't use them, Tanaka replied. Because by the time they realize what's happening, their own people will be profiting from the chaos. That's the beauty of this strategy. We're not fighting the system with force. We're turning its own logic against itself. She activated a new display. It showed a complex financial instrument unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. This is what I call the disorder index. It's a way to invest directly in entropy, in unpredictable change. When the market becomes chaotic, the index rises. Anyone who owns shares in the index profits from disruption. You're going to make chaos profitable, Marcus said slowly. You're going to make the elder races bet against their own system. I'm going to give them a choice, Tanaka said. They can fight the tide of change and drown, or they can swim with it and survive. Most beings, when their money is on the line, choose survival. The team sat in silence, absorbing the magnitude of what they were about to attempt. Crix spoke first. My people have waited 4,000 years. I'm ready. Morith nodded. The Velith remember what we once were. I'm ready. Zero's avatar pulsed. Probability analysis suggests a 34% chance of catastrophic failure and personal destruction. I find these odds acceptable. I'm ready. One by one, each member of the team declared their commitment. Tanaka looked around at her small group of rebels. Humans, aliens, a digital ghost. All of them united by a single belief, that the galaxy deserved better than a perfect prison. Then let's begin, she said. Today, Prometheus Capital lights a fire. Tomorrow, we watch it spread. Within a month, the first Crethony power cells hit the market. Within 2 months, the energy sector began to destabilize. Within 3 months, the consortium's predictive algorithms started failing. The perfect market had developed its first crack. And through that crack, the future was already beginning to pour. The emergency meeting of the Council of Elder Races had been called for the first time in 800 years. The last meeting had been to discuss a minor border dispute. This meeting was about something far more serious. Grand Arbiter Cosvental presided over the gathering. The ancient Morvith had ruled the council for 3,000 years. His exoskeleton had turned silver with age, and his compound eyes had seen empires rise and fall. But he had never seen anything like this. The energy sector has lost 40% of its value in 90 days, reported financial overseer Thrix, a Harmonid whose crystal body had gone dim with stress. The Crethony power cells are spreading faster than we can track. Our projections are meaningless. Shut down production, demanded Admiral Vexthorn, a massive reptilian being who commanded the consortium's enforcement fleet. Sanction the Crethony. Make an example of them. We tried, Thrix replied. The production facilities are funded by a human investment firm, Prometheus Capital. The liability flows to them, not the Crethony. And by the time we processed the sanctions, the technology had already spread to 63 worlds. Then sanction the humans, Vexthorn growled. On what grounds? Asked Ambassador Velthrix, who had been quietly observing the chaos. They violated no laws. They simply invested in a technology. The fact that the technology was scheduled for later release is our problem, not theirs. They exploited a loophole in our system. Grand Arbiter Cosvental raised 1 silver limb for silence. What is the current status of market predictions? Thrix hesitated. The predictive algorithms are struggling. They were designed for stable conditions. The introduction of unscheduled variables has reduced accuracy from 99.97% to 71% and falling. The chamber erupted in alarmed clicks, hisses, and telepathic bursts. 71% accuracy might as well have been random chance for species that had spent millennia relying on perfect forecasts. Meanwhile, on the 37th level of the exchange, Prometheus Capital was celebrating. Phase 1 complete, Tanaka announced to her team. The power cells have disrupted the energy sector. The consortium is in chaos. Now we accelerate. Over the following months, Prometheus Capital funded dozens of suppressed innovations. A Velith engineer released a new propulsion system that cut interstellar travel time by half. A Thrall scientist published research on a medical treatment that can extend lifespans by centuries. A collective of digital entities unveiled a communication network that made the consortium's controlled information systems obsolete. Each release created a new wave of disruption. Markets that had been stable for thousands of years suddenly became unpredictable. Species that had been locked in their assigned roles for generations suddenly had access to tools that made them competitive with the elder races. The chaos spread like a fire through dry forest. Dr. Amara Chen sat in her office on Earth, watching the galactic news feeds with a mixture of satisfaction and concern. She had known that Tanaka's plan would cause disruption. She had not expected it to work this fast. Her communication console chimed. Ambassador Velthrix's crystalline face appeared on the screen. Dr. Chen, we need to talk. Ambassador. I assume this is about Prometheus Capital. Velthrix's S-form flickered with agitation. Your species has broken the compact. You have introduced chaos into a system that has maintained peace for 11,000 years. The Council is considering severe measures. What kind of measures? Economic quarantine. Trade embargo. Some are calling for military intervention. Chun leaned back in her chair. And what would that accomplish? The technology is already out there. The markets are already disrupted. You can't put the chaos back in the box. Then what do you suggest? Velthrix demanded. We cannot simply let your species destroy everything we have built. We're not destroying anything. We're revealing what was already broken. Chun pulled up a data display. Your perfect market was never stable. It was a pressure cooker held together by force. We just opened the valve. The explosion was coming whether we did anything or not. This way, at least, there's a chance to build something better from the pieces. The ambassador was silent for a long moment. The Council will not accept this explanation. Then I suggest you find a way to make them accept it. Because humanity isn't going to stop. We can't. We've started something that has its own momentum now. After the call ended, Chun contacted Tanaka on Nexus Prime. The elder races are panicking. How close are we to Phase 2? Tanaka smiled. We launch tomorrow. The disorder index goes public. The disorder index was the heart of Tanaka's strategy. It was a financial instrument that allowed anyone from any species to invest directly in unpredictability. When markets became chaotic, the index rose. When stability returned, it fell. It was a bet on the universe's natural tendency toward change. The index launched quietly, available only through Prometheus Capital's network. Within hours, it had attracted millions of investors, most of them from species that had been trapped in lower tiers for generations. They saw the chaos not as a disaster, but as an opportunity. Finally, the rules that had held them down were breaking. But the real surprise came 3 days later. "We're seeing investment activity from first-tier species," Marcus reported, his voice filled with disbelief. "Armenids, Morvith, even some consortium officials. They're buying into the disorder index." Tanaka nodded. She had expected this. They see which way the wind is blowing. The smart ones are hedging their bets. If the old system survives, they keep their wealth. If it collapses, they profit from the collapse. They're betting against their own system. They're betting on survival. That's what beings do when they're scared. And right now, the elder races are very, very scared. The tipping point came 6 months after the disorder index launched. The consortium's central prediction engine, the massive artificial intelligence that had forecast market movements for millennia, suffered a complete system failure. It had been designed for a world of perfect order. Faced with genuine chaos, it simply could not function. For the first time in 11,000 years, no one knew what would happen next. Markets swung wildly. Fortunes were made and lost in hours. Species that had been powerful for millennia found themselves competing with newcomers who had nothing to lose. The carefully maintained hierarchy of the galaxy began to collapse. And through it all, the disorder index continued to rise. Chaos had become the most valuable commodity in the galaxy. On Nexus Prime, Tanaka stood at the window of her office, watching the trading floors below. The perfect patterns of the old system were gone, replaced by something messier, more unpredictable, and somehow more alive. "We've done it," Marcus said, joining her. "We've broken the consortium." Tanaka shook her head. "We've broken the cage. What grows in its place is still being decided. The hard part isn't destruction. It's building something better." She turned to face her team. "The elder races are going to demand answers. They're going to want someone to blame. And they're going to want to know what comes next." "What do we tell them?" Tanaka smiled. "We tell them the truth. That the universe was never meant to be controlled. That change is not the enemy of civilization, but its source. That the chaos they fear is also the only path to genuine progress." She looked back at the chaotic markets below. "We tell them that humanity didn't come to the stars to fit into their perfect system. We came to show them that perfection was always an illusion. And now that the illusion is broken, the real work can finally begin." The cosmic stock exchange had not collapsed. It had transformed. And the transformation was only beginning. The crystalline chambers had been built 10,000 years ago as a symbol of the consortium's eternal power. The walls were made of living crystal that sang in harmony with the thoughts of those inside. The floor was a single sheet of transparent diamond, beneath which flowed rivers of liquid light. It was the most sacred space in the galaxy. Today, it felt like a courtroom. Grand Arbiter Cosvental sat upon the throne of judgment, his ancient form radiating cold authority. Around him stood the representatives of the 12 elder races, each one projecting anger, fear, or barely contained panic. Before them stood the human delegation, Dr. Amara Chun, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, and Marcus Webb. "You have been summoned to answer for your crimes against galactic civilization," Cosvental announced. His telepathic voice echoed through every mind in the chamber. "The chaos you have unleashed has caused immeasurable harm. Markets have collapsed. Fortunes have been lost. The order we maintained for 11,000 years lies in ruins." Dr. Chun stepped forward. Her voice was calm and clear. "With respect, Grand Arbiter, we have committed no crimes. Every action taken by Prometheus Capital was legal under consortium law. We exploited no laws. We simply revealed the flaws in a system that was already broken." Admiral Vexthorn slammed his massive fist against the railing, Legal? You have destroyed the economic foundation of 1,000 worlds. Species that were stable for millennia now face ruin. Species that were trapped for millennia now face opportunity, Tanaka replied. There's a difference. Financial overseer Thrix stepped forward, their crystalline form dim with exhaustion. The central prediction engine has failed completely. We have no forecasts, no projections, no way to plan for the future. How is this an improvement? Tanaka met the overseer's gaze without flinching. Your prediction engine only worked because you eliminated all sources of surprise. You crushed innovation. You suppressed competition. You kept entire species locked in economic prisons for thousands of years. Your forecasts were accurate because you controlled every variable. That's not prediction. That's dictatorship. The chamber erupted in outraged noise. Clicks and hisses and telepathic bursts of fury filled the air. Cosvental raised his silver limb for silence. When the noise faded, he spoke directly to Tanaka. You speak of dictation, of control, but what you have created is chaos. Beings across the galaxy have lost everything. New species are rising without the wisdom to handle power. Old alliances are breaking. Wars may follow. Is this truly better? Tanaka took a deep breath. This was the moment she had prepared for. The moment when the philosophy behind her actions had to be explained, not just to the Council, but to the galaxy. Grand Arbiter, I want to tell you about my homeworld. About Earth. About how humanity came to be what we are. She activated a holographic display. Images of Earth appeared. Ice ages and volcanic eruptions. Meteor strikes and mass extinctions. Plagues and wars and revolutions. Our planet is not stable. It never has been. In our short history, we have faced extinction-level events multiple times. Ice covered our world. Fire rained from the sky. Diseases wiped out half our population. And yet, here we are. Not despite the chaos, but because of it. She changed the display to show human evolution, from primitive hunters to farmers to builders to starfarers. Every crisis forced us to adapt. Every disaster pushed us to innovate. Every collapse created space for something new to grow. We learned that change is not the enemy of survival. It is the source of survival. The species that resist change are the ones that go extinct. The ones that embrace it are the ones that thrive. Ambassador Velthrix stepped forward. But your species has only existed for a few 100,000 years. Our civilizations have endured for millions. Surely our stability proves that order is superior. Your stability is artificial, Tanaka replied. You haven't evolved in millions of years because you haven't had to. You eliminated all pressure to change. And in doing so, you eliminated your ability to handle genuine change when it inevitably comes. She pulled up new data. I have analyzed the history of your consortium. In 11,000 years, not a single new idea has emerged from the elder races. Not one genuine innovation. Everything new has come from the younger species, the ones you keep suppressed in lower tiers. And every time something new appeared, you crushed it, controlled it, and scheduled it for release centuries later. Marcus Webb added, you didn't build a stable system. You built a cage. And the beings inside the cage stopped growing. Grand Arbiter Cosvental was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his telepathic voice was heavy with something that might have been sorrow. And what would you have us do? Embrace chaos? Allow the galaxy to tear itself apart? Dr. Chun stepped forward. We would have you trust the galaxy. Trust that beings, when given freedom, will find their own balance. Trust that innovation, even when disruptive, leads to progress. Trust that the chaos you fear is also the only path to genuine creativity, genuine growth, genuine life. She gestured toward the diamond floor, where the trading data of the entire galaxy flowed in rivers of light. Look at what is happening out there. Yes, there is disruption. Yes, there is uncertainty. But there is also something else. Something your perfect system never had. The council members looked down. They saw markets in turmoil, yes. But they also saw something unexpected. New trading patterns emerging. New alliances forming. Species that had never interacted before finding common ground. The chaos was not just destruction. It was creation. The Thrall have opened their first trading house in 4,000 years, Chun said. The Velith are building starships again. The Crethani are sharing their technology freely, and 100 worlds are benefiting. The disorder is not an ending. It's a beginning. Financial overseer Thrix spoke slowly. The disorder index continues to rise. Even members of the elder races are investing in it. They are betting on chaos. They are betting on the future, Tanaka said. They are recognizing that the old system cannot be restored, that the only way forward is through the uncertainty, not around it. Grand Arbiter Cosventhal descended from his throne. The ancient being moved slowly, his silver exoskeleton catching the light of the crystal walls. He stopped directly before Dr. Chun. For 3,000 years, I have guided this consortium. I have believed that order was the highest good. That stability was the foundation of civilization. That our role was to protect the galaxy from its own chaotic nature. He paused. His compound eyes seemed to look inward. Perhaps I was wrong. Perhaps we all were. Perhaps in our fear of chaos, we created something worse. A galaxy that had stopped growing. A civilization that had stopped living. Admiral Vexthorn pushed forward. Grand Arbiter, you cannot be seriously considering. I am considering the evidence before me, Cosventhal replied. The humans have done what we could not. They have shown us what we have become. Whether we thank them or condemn them is irrelevant. The change has already happened. Our only choice now is how to respond. He turned to address the full council. We will not sanction humanity. We will not attempt to restore the old system. Instead, we will learn. We will adapt. We will do what we should have done millennia ago. We will let the galaxy grow. The chamber was silent. Some council members looked relieved. Others looked terrified. All of them looked uncertain. And for the first time in 11,000 years, uncertainty was not a crime. Doctor Chun extended her hand toward the Grand Arbiter. It was a human gesture, strange to alien eyes. But Cosventhal understood its meaning. Welcome to the future, Chun said. It's messy. It's unpredictable. It's frightening. But it's also alive. And that's worth more than all the stability in the universe. The ancient Morvith hesitated. Then, slowly he extended his silver limb and touched the human's hand. The crystalline chambers sang with a new harmony. The age of perfect order was over. The age of creative chaos had begun. 1 year had passed since the collapse of the old consortium. The Cosmic Stock Exchange still stood on Nexus Prime, but everything about it had changed. Even its name was different now. The beings of the galaxy called it the Free Exchange. And for the first time in 11,000 years, the name was actually true. Dr. Yuki Tanaka stood on the observation deck of Prometheus Capital's new headquarters. The firm had moved from its cramped office on the 37th level to a tower at the heart of the trading district. Through the transparent walls, she could see the chaos of galactic commerce flowing in every direction. The disorder index was displayed on every screen, a living measure of unpredictability that had become the benchmark for all trading. Today it showed moderate volatility, which meant fortunes were being made and lost at a reasonable pace. By the old consortium standards, it was terrifying. By the new market standards, it was a quiet day. Marcus Webb entered the observation deck. He looked tired but satisfied. The Thrall just announced their third quarter results. Their technology exports have increased by 800%. They're already competing with species that had a 10,000-year head start. Tanaka nodded. And the Velith? Their new propulsion systems are the standard for half the galaxy. They went from 7th-tier textile manufacturers to 1st-tier innovators in 12 months. Good. What about resistance from the elder races? Marcus smiled. That's the interesting part. Most of them have adapted. They're investing in the disorder index. They're funding startups from lower-tier species. They're actually competing for the first time in millennia. And the ones who haven't adapted? They're falling behind. Natural selection works in economics too, it turns out. Tanaka turned back to the window. A year ago, she had been a theoretical physicist with an idea about entropy and economic systems. Now she was one of the most influential beings in the galaxy. It was a strange feeling. She wasn't sure she liked it. The door opened again. Ambassador Velthrix entered, their crystalline form catching the light of the trading floors below. The Harmonid looked different than they had a year ago. Brighter somehow. More alive. Dr. Tanaka, I hope I'm not interrupting. Ambassador. Please, come in. Velthrix moved to stand beside her at the window. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. They simply watched the beautiful chaos of the free exchange. I still don't fully understand it, Velthrix finally said. My species spent 10,000 years building a perfect system. We eliminated uncertainty. We controlled every variable. We believed we had conquered chaos itself. And yet? Tanaka prompted. And yet this is better. The Harmonid's form chimed with something like wonder. I look at the markets now, and I see things I never saw before. New ideas appearing from nowhere. New species rising without permission. New connections forming between beings who would never have met under the old system. It's messy and frightening and utterly unpredictable. But it's also beautiful. Tanaka smiled. That's what chaos really is. Not destruction. Not randomness. It's the universe's way of creating something new. Order is comfortable, but it's also static. Chaos is uncomfortable, but it's also alive. My people are struggling to accept this. Many of them still believe we should restore the old ways. Some will never accept it. That's okay. They don't have to lead anymore. They just have to get out of the way and let others grow. Below them, a celebration was breaking out on one of the trading floors. A new species, the Zell, had just completed their first major trade deal. They were a young civilization, barely 2 centuries into their spacefaring age. Under the old system, they would have been assigned to the lowest tier and told to wait their turn. Under the new system, they had launched a technology company that was already worth billions. Velthrix watched the celebration with an expression that humans would recognize as nostalgic. In the old days, we would have seen that as a threat, a destabilizing influence. Now I see it as hope. How strange that I had to live through the collapse of everything I believed to understand something so simple. Dr. Amara-chan arrived at the observation deck. She looked older than she had a year ago, with more gray in her hair and deeper lines around her eyes. She also looked happier. The council just issued its final report on the transition, she announced. Overall economic activity is up 40%. Innovation rates have increased by 3,000%. Quality of life indicators are rising across all tiers. And the instability? Tanaka asked. Still significant. 3 small market crashes last month. 2 minor trade wars. 1 planet changed governments unexpectedly. Chun smiled. In other words, normal. The kind of instability that every healthy system produces. Marcus pulled up a holographic display. We're also seeing something we didn't expect. The younger species are already developing their own versions of the Disorder Index. They're creating new financial instruments based on uncertainty management. They're taking our ideas and improving on them. Good, Tanaka said. That means the system doesn't depend on us anymore. It can grow on its own. Velthrix turned to face the humans. I must ask a question that has troubled me for many months. How did you know? How could you be certain that the chaos would create something better rather than simply destroying everything? Tanaka exchanged glances with Chun and Marcus. Then she laughed softly. We weren't certain. That's the whole point. Certainty is the enemy of growth. If we had been certain of success, we would have been just as controlling as the old consortium. We took a calculated risk based on our understanding of complex systems and our faith in the ability of beings to adapt. Faith, Velthrix repeated. That is not a concept my species has traditionally valued. Maybe it should be. Faith in the universe's tendency toward creation. Faith in the ability of living beings to handle uncertainty. Faith that chaos, properly embraced, leads to something greater than order ever could. The Harmonid was quiet for a long moment. Then their crystal form chimed with a new harmony, one that Tanaka had never heard before. On behalf of my species, Velthrix said formally, I thank you. Not for destroying our system, but for freeing us from it. We had imprisoned ourselves without realizing it. You showed us the door. Chun shook her head. We just pointed out that the door was never locked. You walked through it yourselves. Outside the window, the free exchange continued its endless dance of creation and destruction. Markets rose and fell. Fortunes appeared and vanished. New species arrived every day, eager to prove themselves in a galaxy that finally gave them the chance. And at the center of it all, the disorder index pulsed steadily, measuring the beautiful chaos that humanity had unleashed upon the stars. Tanaka looked at her colleagues, at the alien ambassador who had become an ally, at the chaotic market that represented everything she believed in. She thought about everything that had happened, everything that was still to come, and everything that could never be predicted. You know, she said quietly, the elder races asked me how I could be sure this would work. But that was the wrong question. The right question is, how could something that fights against the fundamental nature of the universe ever work in the long run? Order is temporary. Change is eternal. We didn't invent disorder investing. We just reminded the galaxy of a truth it had forgotten. She turned to face the others. The universe trends toward chaos. That's not a problem to be solved. It's an opportunity to be embraced. Those who fight it are destroyed. Those who accept it survive. And those who embrace it, she gestured to the magnificent chaos of the free exchange, to the trillion credits of value being created and destroyed every second, to the endless dance of innovation and adaptation that would continue long after all of them were gone. Those who embrace it get to build the future. The observation deck fell silent. The beings gathered there, human and alien alike, watched the markets flow beneath them. They had started a revolution. They had transformed a galaxy. They had proven that chaos was not the enemy of civilization, but its source. And somewhere in that beautiful chaos, humanity had found its true place among the stars. Not as conquerors or saviors, not as rulers or subjects, but as teachers of a simple truth that the universe had always known. The only constant is change. Those who embrace it thrive. Those who fear it fade away. And the dance goes on forever.